Welcome to Showtime with Coop.
That's the first take. That's the first take.
Showtime with Coop. Insightful BS with my Laker teammates and NBA legends. And in the house today, we got one of the best. And I'm so proud to be friends with this young man, Ralph Sampson. Ralph and I had a great opportunity to meet. What was that, about 2 or 3 years ago, Ralph, for the All-Star? We've known each other for a while, but to finally get to spend time with one another. And I didn't know that. Well, first of all, you're fucking tall.
7'4", right?
I'm taller than you. I'm taller than you. Yes.
But as senior citizens, we're supposed to go down. You keep.
Hey man, you that old yet? I'm not that old yet.
You're considered a senior citizen, Ralph.
Oh, okay, all right.
You've been out of the NBA for 25 plus years, right?
That's a senior citizen, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a senior citizen. But we have Ralph Sampson in the house. Let me read off some of his accolades: 4-time NBA All-Star, NBA All-Star Game MVP in '85, All NBA Second Team in '85, NBA Rookie of the Year in '84, NBA All Rookie Team '84, 3-time College National Player of the Year 1981, '82, '83, 3-time consensus First Team All-American same year, 3-time ACC Player of the Year, and 3 times All ACC. Been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Represented us in gold medals. In the United States in the Olympic Games. His career points is 7,339.
I didn't score too much. You scored probably more than I did.
Well, I was a defensive player, Ralph. So,
okay, got you.
And 752 blocks. Ralph, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
I'm good. Good to see you. Thanks for having me. Hey, but hold it. You gotta get the most important thing in that list of accolades is this thing right here. You know what that is?
What's that?
You got to know what that is. 1986.
Well, Ralph, hold it. We're going to get into that.
Okay, guy. I just want to, it's on my wall. You on my wall.
Okay. We're going to get into that.
You on my wall, so I know.
I'm trying to get us started. But
see, Ralph, usually Coop gets to talk the smack first.
I know what Coop's going to do.
Coop gets to talk the smack
first. I already know Coop already. We hung out a little bit, so I know what's going to
happen. Okay. Ralph, you grew up in Harrisburg, Virginia.
Yep.
What was it like growing up as a young person being so tall?
I grew up in a small town, population probably 50,000 people. And, I didn't like basketball at all because I could only play on a 8-foot basket. We could only score 16 points a game in the littler leagues. And I like, damn, this is boring because I get 16 points in the first quarter and come get the ball and just tossing it up over everybody's head. And then so I played baseball. And I went to baseball and I do sidearm pitch. I could pitch pretty well. My uncle taught me what he played in some of the leagues there. And I threw sidearm would curve and go around the right-hand batter's butt. When I started to get taller, the ball wouldn't curve. So they put me on first base, and I would catch the ball with my offhand. My mama said, hey, boy, you're going to break your freaking hand if you keep catching the ball with your other hand. So they moved me to outfield. I'm like, ain't no balls coming out here. So I went back to basketball. And so I don't really know how tall I was at that age, but at 6'7" in the 9th grade. So I kept getting taller and taller every year. My shoe size getting bigger and bigger every year. And everybody would go to school like, how you go to school? How tall are you this year? And you're 2 feet taller than somebody, whatever it be. So they put me beside in high school the shortest girl in the school, so she could see if she could measure me. And my locker was here, her locker was right beside me. So every year I would go to high school and they were like, are you 7 foot tall this year? So I got tired of people asking me that. I made a shirt. When I reached 7 foot tall, I said, I am 7 feet tall. Stop effing asking me. That was my high school shirt. And I ended up giving it to the girl beside me. But growing up being the tallest kid on the block was kind of crazy because everybody was wondering, how tall are you this year? Or you reach 7 foot tall? You ain't getting any weight. You thin. All the things you got to go through growing up as a young kid.
Ralph, you know what? Let's jump back to baseball for a little bit. You had to be an imposing figure out there on the mound at 6'7", you said?
I stopped in probably middle school in baseball, yeah. So I was pitching in elementary school and middle school. Again, I had an uncle that pitched as well. He could pitch pretty well, so I could do, everything that he could do and taught me. But it was fun to be a pitch because the coach would say, yeah, you are a opposing figure at, 6'5", 6'4", whatever, as a pitcher and as a young kid, right?
Yeah, well, you know what, Ralph? I used to play baseball too because my uncle was from New Hebron, Mississippi, and he had a little stint in the Negro League back then when he played. But he was trying to turn me into a baseball player, and his favorite baseball player was Willie Mays.
Uh,
And so I went and played my first game of baseball, and Pop Warner, and guy hit me in the thigh. And Ralph, it hurt so bad that I quit playing baseball that day. That's how I
that was you were done.
basketball.
Well, and you know, Coop, what's interesting is a lot of the guys we talk with on this podcast that, I mean, you go back and think of all the people we've talked to, everybody started with baseball.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even going in the next generation of guys, Michael Jordan, we knew he was a big time baseball player before he played basketball. How much, I mean, obviously baseball was so much more popular then than it is today. I think the NBA's popularity has exceeded Major League Baseball, but it wasn't back then like that. So I think that's why. How much do you think that's changed? And how much do you guys think your basketball career was influenced by starting off playing baseball and not playing basketball, and not specializing specifically in basketball from the start?
Well, I mean, I mean, even today, like baseball's not played in the cities anymore, like when we grew up, right? So there's no little league baseball, little club league. It's all like you got to play in this huge club team and travel and play almost 100 games at a young age, which is too much, right? So you play multiple sports. Everybody played three sports just to see which one you enjoyed, and after a point in time, then you might have picked and choose which one you like the best. Right now, everything's so specialized with AAU, whatever. It makes it kind of crazy for a young kid to grow up and specialize in one sport. But then baseball's gone to Puerto Rico, the other leagues, all those kids are over there because they only specialize in baseball. They become much better than we are in baseball. And you see the African American young kids don't play baseball anymore. So that's where you see the diversity in the Major League Baseball because we don't have a lot of African American kids play because there's no baseball in the inner cities anymore.
So, Ralph, as you got taller and you made the transition from baseball to basketball, who were some of your role models as a young African American playing high school basketball?
I mean, growing up, and that was in the late '70s. So, from a just an area standpoint, I had a bunch of cousins that were really good. I got one cousin that was probably the best basketball player in the state of Virginia, and all my cousins played. So imagine, Coop, I would go to the park. Now the park's named after me now, but back then it was just a park everybody went to. I'd go to the park and play, and they wouldn't let me play. I was too skinny, too tall. My cousin said they're gonna break you out, whatever, and it was very physical, like when we played in the NBA. And so I would get to the last game, and lights get ready to go out 9:30. We played at 11, and we get to 6, and the lights go out. We got to go home. We get to 6, and I play the last game. I wouldn't play. So that made me a little mad. I would play and continue to play every year. And the next couple of years, they let me play, and I beat everybody else up from that standpoint. So growing up, it was like that. But that's just in that area. But looking at people like my cousins, obviously in the back, looking at Kareem, looking at Willis Reed, Julius Irving, all those guys in the late '70s. And when you grow up, you only got that one game a week. CBS special, one game on Sunday, tape delay, whatever. That's all you could see growing up. So you could see a little bit. Then we was on the black and white TV or color TV. So you couldn't see it as much as obviously the fans do today. But I watched every game with my mom. She was a basketball player in high school. And imagine back then, my mother played, you played 3-on-3. You couldn't go past half court. So you was an offensive player or a defensive player. And she said she taught me the sky hook from that standpoint or how to play because she played that way. She was really, really good in high school. So come back, my mother, then obviously the NBA, and then all the guys that played. I studied the game, very well back in the day from Wilt to Bill Russell to Kareem to Julius. So I wanted to see the games when I was coming up on that Sunday night.
So as a young person, Ralph, it seemed like your basketball IQ was already high up there. You attribute to that to some of your success?
Yeah, definitely. Because when you start to find something that you really love, I love baseball. I knew the Willie Mazes, and I knew the fast pitch, the split finger. I knew all that kind of stuff growing up, but I didn't. My body wasn't adjusting to baseball like it should have. Pitching, I wanted to pitch. I didn't want to play anywhere else but pitch. And then basketball, you say, okay, great, but it was boring, like I said, because we only played on a 6-foot basket. And then growing up, I couldn't get the ball because I was so tall because the guards were taking it. So I ended up learning how to dribble that way growing up. I dribble them down the court. I dribble them down the streets. I go in front yard and up the driveway, dribble, night until my mom made me go to bed. Then I go watch the game and study it. But there was no internet. There was no, it was only TV. And so, you couldn't tape a game, so you had to watch it literally every Sunday night and make sure you watched it because you could see it in the CBS game of the week. So I watched it, and then when I started to grow a little bit more in high school, I had a great high school coach that taught me that, and he would bring me films of games, VHS. He would bring, and we just sit there and watch guys play, watch guys play, watch guys play. That's the very well I learned how to dribble and how to shoot and how to really be a student of the game.
Hey, Ralph, just you saying that, I want to ask you this. Did you have that big man mentality where you thought that you were a guard and you wanted to dribble the bring the ball up the floor?
I did because I couldn't get the damn ball, Coop. Little ass guards wouldn't give me the ball. You know how it goes. You can't get the ball from the guards, and then you're a big guy. You're always supposed to do is rebound. And then so I would do it in the game in elementary and high school. My high school coach came and said, "Look, son, if you can do it in practice, you can do it in a game. But you can't do it in a game unless you do it in practice." So every day he would put me against the fastest guy on the court, and he'd steal the ball from me every time until I got it. And then he said, "Well, they will put two people on you." So I would get the rebound, and I would try to take it to the court, and they steal it. But he taught me how to dribble at the early age because he knew I was frustrated not getting the basketball because I was double and triple team. I could never get the freaking ball. So I like, okay, great, let me just get it and shoot it every time I got it. But you had to go get the rebound.
What's it like for a 18-year-old to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated?
Back then Sports Illustrated was the shit, right? You had to be on Sports Illustrated. You in the back cover, you got your little picture in the back. You see, oh, you made the back cover, but to be on the cover, whatever times I was, or actually I got some here somewhere. It was pretty fun because everybody back then saw it and knew it. But again, Sports Illustrated was like the ESPN. If you could make Sports Illustrated, you were good. But also Sports Illustrated said if you made the cover, then you're going to have a bad game or something was going to negative happen to you because you thought you were the shit at that point in time. So I kept hearing that. So I never really saw the early Sports Illustrated cover until my mom hid them from me.
So Ralph, the foundation has been set in high school. Okay, you have a successful high school. Why do you stay at home and not explore and go out? Why do you take Virginia?
Well, Coop, if I know what I know today, I'd have played with you. I'd played with you on the Lakers. So I tell people all the time when I talk to all the guys, whatever. So coming out of high school, I probably could have gotten the NBA, but I was 7'1" out of high school, 199 pounds. So Kareem, Artis, Parrish, Daryl, Moses. I mean, I couldn't play with those guys. I'd have been beat up my first rookie year. Right? I wasn't ready for the rigors of the NBA. The next year, we go to Virginia. I decided to go to Virginia because it was one close to home, good coaches, ACC, and my parents could see me every night, and good education, right?
And Ralph, I like what you said. I was reading your bio. You said, you know what? Your parents wanted you to get that degree. And that's what a lot of young people don't understand. They kind of go for the money. Well, sometimes that could be good and bad depending on what's needed in your household. But I always say this, I opt for players. I think young people today need to go 4 years of college because there's so many things you learn to help you once you get to the NBA.
Well, I agree with that, but I also think that colleges have to do a better job with these younger players to educate them on something that's meaningful to help them not only in the NBA but life. Because you go in there and you do the basket weaving classes or whatever you're doing, right?
Yep.
It makes no sense when you come out that you have no clue what's going on with your finances or anything like that. Because I mean, my daughter went to Stanford and I had to teach her finances when she got out. But they got to teach them something more that can help them after they get out of the league or come to real life because they don't do that. And, that degree is great. You can network with it, but you got to teach them finance. You got to teach them something better than that.
Ralph, I hear you because my first year in New Mexico, I took that basket weaving class and I have no use for it right now.
Exactly.
Wait,
so at Virginia, they made me so we would go in and the language, you got to take Spanish, you got to take a foreign language, right? Whatever it be in your first couple of years, like, okay, well, you can take this class over here that you can test out of it, or you can take this old class over here, you can test under it, and you get away with it either way. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to test under it. I took Spanish and French in high school, so I went over and tested, and I got out of the class. I said, I really want to take the class. No, you tested over it, so you don't have to take the class. I wish I would have had Spanish right now.
So, hey, Ralph, okay. So you can speak French?
I used to go, yeah, Parlez-vous français, je m'appelle Ralph. I did that. I know you've been over there too. I know you got a little bit of that.
No, I haven't, Ralph, but you know what? I love that because it's the language of love. But the way you say it is kind of harsh. You're supposed to say it really nice.
Bonjour, je m'appelle
Ari. It's supposed to be sexy.
Wait, so we gotta reflect on the what Ralph said about if he could do it over again, he'd leave early, get drafted by the Lakers. Okay, so there's the story, obviously maybe most known is in '82 when you were thinking about leaving early. If the Lakers could swing a deal with San Diego to get the rights to the pick to draft you, but was there? I'm trying to think back to '79 when you're coming out of high school. Was there another opportunity? Weren't there multiple opportunities for Lakers to try to bring you on early before?
Well, yeah, there were. So, I mean, the 1 year, so 1 year being drafted, it was between, so the first year it was me or Kevin McHale. We beat Kevin McHale in the 1979-80 NIT. Kevin McHale, Randy Brewer, and that crew. And that's when Red Auerbach came to my parents' house with $1 million in a briefcase and said, "Here, you can play for the mighty Boston Celtics."
Who did what?
Red Auerbach. So I know you know Sid Maxwell.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So we'll do something else. But Sid, I did him on our podcast as well. He said to me, he said, "Big fella," because a couple of things. One, Red came to Cedric and Bird and said, "We're gonna go to Virginia and try to lure Ralph Sampson to come to the Boston Celtics." And Max and Bird said, "We ain't going down there and do all that. We don't do it." So Fitzgerald and Red came down with $1 million in a briefcase, put it on my parents' table, and said, "You come play for the mighty Boston Celtics here this year if you come out of school." So McHale wouldn't have gone to Boston's at that point in time. So I decided to stay in school. Now the next year,
take that money.
And I probably should have back then, but I didn't think I was quite ready. Between my freshman and sophomore in Virginia, I gained 15 pounds of muscle, so I was ready back then. Then we go to the Final Four next year. So next year is a coin flip. It's between the Lakers and Indiana. Now, Coop, now that you know all the political stuff of the game, the Lakers gonna get that pick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it goes. How did Patrick Ewing get to New York? Come on. Coin flip, come on, that had to happen. Politically. So that next year, it was me or James Worthy. I was number one player in the country. I was first pick. If I'd have came out, I'd have played with you. But the twin tie was with Kareem and Magic and the Coop, which is probably what I should have done. That I look back, because with the right thing. But I came back again. The next year, it was me and Isaiah. Isaiah went to Detroit. Me and Isaiah was on the phone. Not cell phone, because we didn't have a home phone. I said, "Okay, great. You coming out, big fella? You coming out with Jockey?" And I said, "I don't know, Isaiah. I don't know what I'm going to do, whatever." So I didn't come out then. Isaiah goes to Detroit, and I end up going to Houston in my senior year. So all those guys, whatever, I tell them all the time, "You should thank me, because I would have came out sometime. Something would have changed." When I did my Hall of Fame speech with when they were out there, and Pat Riley said, "Pat, I'm sorry to get to play for you, Magic. Sorry to get to play for. I should have came out. Y'all would have had James Worthy, and everybody laughed, but." That's the way history goes. That's the way it works. But I would have loved to play out there in California for sure. And then I was being traded. So you remember, in Houston, we didn't have a guard. So they was trying to get Norm Nixon to Houston for a trade, and the Lakers wanted they wanted to trade, and they wouldn't pull that trigger.
Ralph, you know what? When you think back on your career, and let me ask you this: and I always believe that you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be, basketball-wise.
Yeah.
Do you think being the college player of the year and all that came behind that, do you think that put too much pressure on you entering into the NBA to have? Do you feel you had the kind of career you wanted?
I mean, like you said, the career is what you get. So I didn't feel any pressure. I mean, you never shoot out for player of the year or any award, Hall of Fame. I just love to play, and so I didn't really worry about those words. They came with how you played and how you prepared, and it really comes from my mom and dad. They told me, I said, "Look, no matter what you do," they made me play piano as a young kid. The teacher said his hands are too big, he's growing too fast, he hits too many keys. My mom said he still got to play because I'm paying this money for him to play. So you got to play. So I did that, and then everything was a challenge for me. My mom, like making my bed in the morning, being the best I could be that day, because she always said your 80% has got to be better than somebody's 100%. So that stayed with me forever. So all the awards are great. All my awards are at my parents' house. Every single one of them trophies at my parents' house to make a difference. So I just try to be the best I could at for them. There was no pressure whatsoever. I mean, just play. I mean, some people think I didn't like basketball, but I go to the gym at 12 o'clock at night just to play. Just to work out, even in college.
Ralph, we're at the point of my show. You listen to Showtime with Coop, insightful BS with NBA legends. I have a lightning round. I'm going to ask you 6 names, and you just tell me something about it. It could be long or it could be short. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Wilt Chamberlain.
The strongest, biggest, most athletic big man ever.
Bill Russell.
The best ever. The GOAT.
Craig Littlepage.
Craig Littlepage, assistant coach, University of Virginia, extraordinary, good guy.
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X. We needed him today.
Ooh, that's good, Ralph. That's good, Ralph. Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King. I have a dream, and the dream still exists.
Elijah Wan.
The best big man footwork ever. The dream shape.
Ralph, that's pretty good. You answered those. I knew we had some kind of sync going on because you're tall, I'm tall, you're skinny, I'm skinny. You have to catch me. You still have hair. I don't have any hair. But so 1983, Ralph, you get drafted by the Rockets. What were your expectations heading to that team?
Well, so Coop, I'll tell you a story. So I go in with Calvin Murphy, Elvin Hayes, Caldwell Jones.
Big E. What do you think of the Big E, man? I loved him.
I love the Big E.
Yeah.
I watched the Big E when I was younger with the Bullets and the Wizards and that back and move basket that, he was a black hole because he never threw it back out. But the Big E was a special. Big E taught me the game of life in the NBA my rookie year. I mean, he taught me. It was his last year, and I mean, he took me by his side. My house was around the corner from his, and he took me under his wing and said, "Here's what you do, and here's what you don't do." In every city, he taught me how to do that. So I had really good vets with me. My first year, they taught me how to do it, and then so that early on, my expectation was really high because I wanted to go and play. I thought I was going to be, because I thought we had some seasoned vets. So I respected those guys because I had watched Caldwell John, I watched those guys at other teams at that point, and Caldwell and win the championship. All the kind of stuff I had watched. And then I get there, and the way they treated those guys was not the way I would treat Elvin Hayes and Caldwell Jones as a franchise, right? They was just, long in the tooth, putting them out the pasture. And Calvin Murphy, a good friend today, he made it through training camp, then he retired. And Bill Fitch kind of made him retire. We needed Calvin Murphy, but they made him retire at that point in time. And the tricks that Calvin taught me, like I'm sure you know, Calvin would run behind a guy and steal the ball. And Elvin Hayes would say, "Watch him steal the ball." I said, "How you going to do that?" He'd be side by side running. And Calvin would stick his foot out and trip him and take the ball and go back down the court. That was just one of his tricks. So all those tricks of the trade, I learned from those guys. But they also taught me the game of life in the NBA about what to do and not to do. And I appreciate that, every day that I see him.
Ralph, getting to Houston, there was a lot of undue pressure on you as well as that team because it was kind of like you guys got there. What was it like being part of that Twin Tower? Because you guys were the first. You and Elijah Wan were the first very, very tall, unique tandem in the NBA. I mean, it was I remember when you guys first got together, that was the one thing everybody talking about. Okay, Lakers reign is over with. Houston's about to run this. What was it like, the feeling, every game that you went out on the court with Elijah Wan?
Well, I mean, I was there the first year, and then Hakeem came the second year, and the Rockets came in and said, "What if we draft Hakeem Olajuwon? We make you guys the Twin Towers." So they had the poster, they had all the stuff up there. I said, "Hey, that'd be good. I want to move the forward." Because I knew the first year getting beat up in the center, I said, let me move. So I'll run and jump and whatever. But I knew Hakeem would do the same thing. So I cherished that moment to get it. And then we had, Hakeem, Rodney McCray, Jim. We had a cast of characters that I thought was pretty good. So I was so excited about the opportunity to play with him. And then we got together and we had this camaraderie about who was going to block what shot. We kind of, how you get with your guy on the court, you shake your head, okay, let's do this. Bill Fitch couldn't call plays for us. We could call our own plays and run. And I remember that first year, I said, new pay, just turn us loose. Don't let us go.
So
Don't Bill Fitch.
wait,
Don't.
Ralph, Bill Fitch didn't call plays?
We had plays,
Yeah.
but when we were rolling, we would look at each other and call our own freaking plays.
Oh.
Right. Which is what you should do as a coach.
Because we knew, we know you have that mouse in the house in the hole. We said, go down there and go ahead and go to work, right? And he would come like, I didn't call that play. I'm like, dude, we scored, we won, we good. So at the end of that first year, we get in the locker room, and I tell the newspaper, you know how newspapers are back then, even today. I said, just turn us loose. We could win a championship if you just turn loose. And he made me try to read that whole newspaper all the way in the locker room with the players. I was like, man, I'm not reading that garbage. Whatever. Just turn us loose. But we had a good team, and we could, if they would have kept us together, we were missing a guard. We were missing a guard at that point in time. So we had a couple guards come in. We had some guys that had some personal problems back then as well. So we played you guys with Robert Reed as a point forward.
Yeah, had to. Well, you know what, Ralph, 83 comes, 84 comes, we lose to the Celtics, 85 comes, we win our championship, and we finally beat the Celtics. And we come into that season, and as we kind of made our game plan, we the Lakers, on what we got to do to get out the West, Houston was the team to beat. We had won the championship, so we were never fearful of you guys, but we finally, and the old saying goes, be careful what you ask for. We finally get you guys, and we're playing you guys. And you know what, Ralph? We're going to go to your little net you got behind you. Go ahead and do that.
There's the picture there. You are. What's going on? You going to bring that out?
Ralph,
okay,
listen,
great.
Before you put that on, there are two people in my family my kids hate. One is Dr. J for dunking on me. The other one is you for this play right here. Because when you threw that fucking ball over your head and you weren't looking at what you were doing, you just threw it over your head because you knew you had to get it up. But it was a heck of a shot. And I knew that you got, Ralph, I knew you guys were going to beat us. I just didn't know how. But it goes in like that. And Ralph, I actually fainted. I really did. I could not believe we had lost that game to you guys.
Well, Cooper, so this net behind me is the net actually, and I got it from one of your trainer ball guys, and the little short Hispanic guy. He gave me that net after the game.
Well, I'm gonna deal with him later on.
Deal with him later on, and then Houston put it on the plaque, which you see back here under Larry Bird's picture. So that was in '86, and that was the thing that said 1986 Western Conference champion. So I tell Magic when I was talking to him about this, where we was at some event many years ago, we had come out of a grueling series against Denver and Alex and that crew, 7 games. Hakeem fouled out, I fouled out. We had our guys take it. We win the 7 games. We come to you guys, if you recall, like in the next 24 to 48 hours, we come to you guys, and y'all blow it out the first game. We just got literally obliterated. So we play game 2 out there, and we get in the locker room and say, okay, look, guys, we were tired. We whatever. Let's regroup and play the next game. So we win the next 3 straight. The next 4 straight. You guys won 1. It was 4-1. So I said, okay, great. If that shot wouldn't have gone in, because you remember we had a fight over the bench with Hakeem and Luke and that crew, whatever. So then we had to take over. So everybody was scoring, and then we go from that standpoint. So it's not the shot that said Roddy McCray said was his pass. And then, I started out high instead of on the box. So Kareem didn't front me. He was behind me. And I had practiced that shot, at least turn around and shoot it. You messed around doing whatever. You just throw it up to the basket. I knew where I was at, but I didn't know I would get that bounce. The ball came in. I knew I had a split second. I just turned and shot it. You see Kareem, he didn't put his hands up or anything at that point in time. But I tell Matt, I said, look, Irv, you'd have got beaten anyway. See, I go down right here in the pass, and Kareem's behind me. He got his hands down in his pocket, so anything could happen at that point in time, right? But we were going back to Houston anyway, so it'd have been 3-2. Maybe a chance to win. What I said, Irv said, look, we're going to beat you anyway in Houston if you come back to Houston. We just make sure you didn't have to travel back to L.A. getting beat. But then he said to you as well, I'm sure, well, you made us mad because the next year we won 2 more straight in a row. So I'm like, okay, great. We'll take that. We didn't win it, but you won next year, the next 2. So we'll give you that.
Well, Ralph Sampson, we're having here, he's talking a little shit talk to me, and I'm not feeling it, but I'm loving it anyway. The one thing that I'm really happy about is that you did practice that shot. So now I can go to my grave, knowing that that was a shot that Ralph had worked on. It wasn't something that he just threw.
I mean, every kid works on the game winner. I mean, you worked on it. Every kid works on the game winner.
Let's continue on with the 86. So you guys beat us, and you're ready for the Celtics. What happened?
Yeah. So we come out the high. We go to Houston. We get to celebrate a little bit. This and another. I don't think we had enough time to prep because the Celtics had already won their series before we got to them, and they were real prepared. So we get there. We got to go to Boston Garden, as you know, the lovely Boston Garden, and and you experienced the Boston Garden more than I have at that time. In June, it's hot as hell in the locker room. You go up the back of the building in the elevator, and there's roaches and rats and all that kind of shit in the elevator. You get to the locker room, and the floor is really bad. Larry Bird's there 2 hours before, and Robert Reed's trying to beat him to the gym because we knew that's what to make him mad, whatever. But we get there, we lose the first game. And we lose the first two games, and it's 2-0, and we got to recover. We go back to Houston, we win a game, et cetera, et cetera. And then, it just kind of evolved over that whole period of time. But they were well prepared and ready to play as they should be. But the game that I played in, that they're winning, I get in a fight with Danny Ainge and Jerry Seasting and the crew in Houston because I said, with 3 games to 2, 3 games to 1. And I said, well, you know what? I'm so proud of you. You ain't going to win on my home court. You might win the series, but you damn sure ain't going to win in Houston. So we get there, and I had like 15 points and 6-7 rebounds in the first quarter. I mean, it was one of them games you just want to play. You're rolling, you hyped up, you're ready to play. By the second quarter, things happen, and then, as you know, it being tall and you're sitting picking down for the guy to come out, Danny Ainge and Jerry Season would hit me in the nuts. This one guy just hit me. Okay, what the hell? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
so they wanted
dirty guys.
Yeah, little dirty guys. Okay, great. So something at that end happens, breaks out, and then they do it again. And on the other end court, I just couldn't take it anymore. So we went to fighting. And so lovely Dennis Johnson got rest his soul. Then Danny, so it just broke out. Hakeem just broke out. I get thrown out. I walk in the locker room and say, that's a freaking bullshit call. The team then picked up the pace. We win the game. We go back to Boston. And so when I did Cedric Maxwell's podcast, he said, I want to apologize to you because, come to Boston in this whole world we live in now, they had a mannequin or whatever, stuffed human being or whatever it was, in the rafters of the Boston Celtics with my number on it, with a noose hanging from the end of the rafter with 2 police around it. And so me and Max laughed at that as well. I said, okay, great. But, I got death threats, from that game. And I had to end up bringing 2 security guards with me in the hotel that were with me at that game. So, and they was on the same room I was at. And then Bill Fitch kind of knew what was going on. So they was going to win the game. So he called the timeout, and he takes it where, how they rush the court. He called the timeout, and he shifts all the team to the locker room. And then we put the last guys on the team, out there to play the last, 2 minutes or so, and then they rush it forward. But we are in the locker room. So that was kind of the memories of that game. But they won it all right. But I would love to go do that again and be much more prepared for it because I think we didn't have enough time to prepare.
Yeah. Ralph, any regrets in your career?
You always have regrets, but I mean, I wish I could have played longer. I look back, I don't regret my career. I love it. I love the way we played. If I look back now with the lay of the land, like I said, I probably would have came out my second year. I still would have got my degree, but I don't regret that either. And then, in shape, being in shape, I was always in shape, but having injuries can cause that as well. And then you got things in life that you regret and that you also cherish as well. So, when I got hurt, whatever, we had, bad agents, bad people around you. Sometimes you play, and the distractions you may have back then cause you maybe not to work as hard sometimes, some days, because in high school and college, you worked every day.
Yeah.
And then when you get in real life, you got to pay bills, you got to do these things. So you got other distractions, you got to do endorsement, you got to do whatever, instead of really focusing. I don't know how guys do it today with all the stuff they have, right? I mean, LeBron James is phenomenal, right, body-wise. So he takes something, but he has people around him to make it happen. But some of these guys, even today, have too many distractions in life with social media that they don't focus on their crafts like we did. And so no regrets at all, but just I wish I could play longer.
Ralph, if you were coming out of school today coming into the NBA.
500 million. 500 million.
Max, come on, Seth.
What kind of money would you
Come on,
command?
500 million. That's what they tell me. So I mean, I see people like John is getting 200 some million, and all these guys playing. I mean, come on, Coop. I mean, back then you had to average 20 and 10 to get a million.
Yeah, back then. Ralph, what do you feel about the state of the NBA today? Today's players.
I mean, I love the game at all. So I love the NBA. I love the players. I love the way they play. There's a lot of bad teams out there. Obviously, it's still the same. You got the Lakers, you got the Boston. You got to have that rivalry. Now it's going to be Brooklyn. So you got some things on that. It'll be great, and it'll be fine. But it's just the nature of the beast of how it goes. But it's a good deal. I love the NBA.
Ralph, I know that you're really, really involved in the community and stuff like that. You want to tell us about anything you got going on? You want to hype anything up?
Yeah, so I mean, I do things like we have our podcast as well called Center Court. We do stuff with that that's fun in the community. We have the Sampson Family Foundation that's focused on cancer research at University of Virginia in my hometown, Rockingham Memorial for my dad. We have a scholarship fund at Virginia State with my mom, and we're just doing business deals and hanging out, having fun.
There you have it, listeners. Ralph Sampson, the one and only. And I like to say that when I had hair, Ralph and I looked alike. Ralph, a very handsome man, and we had a lot in common that I'm seeing out now. Ralph,
we had hair, the mustache, and all that kind of stuff is gone. My hair is still there, but it's I got a sister that's a beautician, so she keeps it nice and clean for me.
Ralph, thank you so much, man, for coming on, sharing a little bit of time out of your busy schedule. Thank you. I'd be more than happy. Just give me a call or text, man. I'd love to join you on.
Absolutely. We'll do that. We'll get on soon. But anything I can do for you guys, let me know. You know that.
Okay. Thank you, big guy.
I got
it, Ralph.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
He's great. It was good.
Yeah. Okay. Was it long enough?
Oh yeah. It was over 30 minutes. He's kind of soft spoken, but he could dish it. You know what I mean? Like he's not. You kind of think he's gonna be a little, a little
crazy. I hear, man.
It is interesting though, because he's a Hall of Famer, but you're right. He didn't.
You know what? I didn't know he was a Hall of Famer until I actually looked in there. How the fuck he get in before me?
Because probably because of the college career too. It's because he won national titles but I mean, I didn't realize he didn't play that long. I never realized that.
He was good. All right, I'm gonna have this young man, and this is gonna be for our younger viewers. There's this kid out here I know that